Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
Hey Jeff, we're back again. I don't even know how long it's been again. We're so bad at this now, being regular about podcasting. But hey, today we got shit to talk about.
That's right.
This is basically this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 166. I'm going to call this the basketball roster is finally filling out edition. I'm Craig Powers. With me, as always, is Jeff Nusser. We don't do subs. Probably that's why we're not very consistent with the episodes right now. It's because we don't sub people in and out. It's only us
that's
two.
Exactly it.
Maybe we'll add a third, but it's usually just us two. But Jeff, it's the morning started well. For Cougar Hoops fans today, like ourselves, with that first piece of big news, probably the best news that WSU has gotten in terms of basketball in a while, and that is Mohamed Gay is coming back to play in Pullman for his sophomore season, and that is so fucking awesome.
Oh. Dude, I'm like, I am insanely fired up about that. There was always the sense that this was a distinct possibility from the moment he, declared his intention to test the draft waters, from the moment he put his name in the transfer portal. The sense was that coming back to WSU was a real possibility. When I'm sure we'll talk a little bit later about F.A. Abogidi, but that one sort of felt like almost a little bit more of a courtesy call. I know he had essentially a re-recruiting meeting with the staff, I don't know, a week or two ago. That one felt more like, maybe kind of a courtesy to people who had done right by him. This one always felt very much like it was definitely within the realm of possibility and not just, with crimson colored glasses, because, you didn't hear a lot of buzz about him contacting other teams, other programs. You didn't hear a lot about, he's considering these teams. It's, essentially, if you contrast it to what we saw happen with FA, it was very, very different and made it, the sense that he could come back.
FA put out a list of pretty much every team in the entire country.
Here are 56 teams that I am considering. It's, it was sort of the anti that, and not that FA did anything wrong. Like he did it his way. And the way that Mo did it just sort of made it feel very much like if he's not getting drafted, if he doesn't get, a promise somewhere where he wants to get one, the coming back is a very real possibility. And everything has been so quiet. He really, I think the only publicized NBA workout he took was in Portland.
Right.
So it just sort of felt like everything was pointing this direction, but you also never know until TJ Bamba over the weekend, tweeted something that made it look like maybe he was coming back, and we all kind of got a little Twitter pated about that one, and then of course it happened today. So super exciting, super just like I know people have been, super stressed out about the roster and the lack of movement. And, as we saw today, sometimes patience is the right way to go.
Yeah, and it was always the sense, honestly, with Mo, and like you said, there wasn't a lot of talk, not a lot of heat. It always felt like if he wasn't gonna get some sort of draft guarantee, he probably was gonna come back to WSU. Kind of what we heard is that he didn't really want to leave Pullman. He didn't really want to go to a different school, but he was kind of advised to at least test the waters, because there's money out there, right? So you can't blame a kid, if your advisors are telling you go try to get the money, whatever, and who knows, maybe WSU found some money for him. I don't know. We haven't heard anything about that, but you could tell he was still invested because he recruited Adrame Dion. Like he was the lead recruiter on there, and he helped bring him in. And so he's invested here. He got on that. He got an Instagram live with Noah Williams a couple last week, and he was giving Noah shit for playing for the Huskies and all this stuff. So that made me feel pretty good. He's like, you're a Coug, you're not a dog. What are you doing? All this stuff. So it was pretty funny. So I think Mo, he seems like he likes it here. The staff, obviously he bought into this staff. He made a big decision to reclassify to come to Pullman, and really, I'm sure they've told him, and why wouldn't he be? He's going to be one of the guys next year. Like, you look at who's coming back, there's no reason to think that his usage isn't going to go up. He's going to be a primary defender. He's going to make big plays on defense. He's probably going to have a little more freedom on offense. And we'll talk about the guards they're bringing in might help him do a little bit better offensively too. But yeah, so he seems like he likes it here. He wants to play for Kyle Smith's staff. And, maybe we only got him one more year, which I wouldn't be surprised. But he seems like he wants to improve his game, and this is a place that he felt he could do it. And I'm really happy to have him back because he's so fun to watch. And when he was healthy, he just got better and better throughout the year. It's pretty funny. He shot 31% from three in Pac-12 play, which is pretty nuts. He had better numbers in conference play than he did in non-conference play when they were playing worse teams. He was a great defensive player. We saw flashes of what he can do offensively. He just needs consistency, particularly with that stroke, that shooting stroke. And plus, if he had guards that could better run the pick and roll and maybe see over defenses a little bit, he probably could have had a few more chances. Him and FA, definitely. So maybe he'll have more opportunities this year as WC maybe rolls out some bigger guards, more playmaking style guards versus kind of shooting guards that are playing point guard. So it'll be interesting. Really happy to have him back. He's just so fun to watch. He's good, obviously, but he's a ticket seller, man. He's a guy. He's gonna be on the poster, front and center. All that stuff. He's just one of those guys. Everyone knows him. Now he came back. Coug fans are gonna love him, and obviously we already did, but it's even more. And so he's a Coug. He's a Coug now. Obviously he was a Coug before, but he kind of proved it. He's coming back, and I'm really excited. And I'm excited to see. He talked about how he wants to grow his game. I believe it. He hasn't played a ton of basketball, and he's got a chance to just spend an off. He's got to be evaluated by NBA scouts and NBA coaches, and play with some great players at camps and different things like that, and that workout in Portland you're talking about. So he's got to test himself, and so he's got a nice barometer on what he needs to work on. And he seems like a guy that will put in the work because he has high aspirations. Obviously, he does because he tried to go to the NBA. That he tried to go pro already, so he has those aspirations. And really, he's only a freshman. He should be a freshman this year. So he's. I expect some big growth from him, and he's just so fun and so excited. And plus, it wasn't even the only good piece of news this morning, right?
Yeah.
How crazy!
Yeah.
And we went from a week ago. There's so many spots open. Now there's only one scholarship open, because WSU got what I believe to be. I'm pretty sure you too, and I know Bryce thinks this. His great breakdown, a real legitimate impact transfer from I know right now, a top 20, top 10 program in Justin Powell, who's probably going to come in and play 75% of the minutes at point guard, honestly. Maybe, depending on, Miles Rice may have something to say about that. And Powell definitely could play the two, too. But I think, he's so Justin Powell, he was a top 100 recruit on ESPN. In coming into when he committed to Auburn, he played 10 games his freshman year at Auburn, left under unceremonious circumstances. But
those 10 games were awesome.
Exactly,
were really good.
Those 10 games were
his departure was precipitated by a concussion.
Yeah.
Like it was not like he got kicked off the team or something. He got an injury, went out the rest of the year, and then decided to move along. But yeah, those 10 games were really good.
Yeah, and you look at those 10 games, and obviously you can look at his Tennessee, where he was a kind of a deep bench player, didn't get on the court that much, played in every game almost, but didn't get on the court that much, and really was a fourth option type player on a very, very good team. Like that's not like a huge knock on that Tennessee team to be the fourth option coming up. Right. There's only so many shots to go around, right? But he wasn't asked to be a playmaker. He wasn't. He's really a spot up shooter for them. But when that 1 year at Auburn, those 10 games, he was a facilitator. He was a shooter. He had a 30+ assist rate, which is that's elite point guard level stuff. And he's a good passer, got a great shooting form. Really looks like he can knock down. He was over 40% both of his, for his career. He's over 40% total, 40% in his college career. He's a 6'6" guard, and man, how great is that to have 6'6" guards again?
I mean, you and I spent all of last season basically just sort of, lamenting to some degree the size of the two starting guards, right? And and we kind of went through the whole season, just sort of thinking like, we didn't particularly like the fact that we were starting two guys who were, 6 foot and 5'10" or 5'9" or whatever, Terrell Roberts was. But also I think we both sort of realized like, it's just kind of the way the roster's constructed, right? Like now you can lay that at Kyle Smith's feet and say, why are you recruiting, two guys who are 6 foot and under? Cause we're not playing a 6 foot and under league, but at the same time, it's, Kyle Smith is going to go out and get the best guys he can get. And, sometimes those guys aren't, super tall, but I really do feel like, as we talk about some of the other stuff that has been put together, with the team, I really do feel like, I don't want to say like Kyle Smith learned his lesson, but last year definitely feels like he experimented with something he hasn't typically done. His teams at San Francisco tended to be pretty long. They had some guys who weren't. I think Frankie Ferrari was only 6 feet tall or whatever. But in general, he likes long, multi-talented ball handler types, guys who can, guys who sit there between 6'4" and 6'8", who can play, sort of 2 through 4, and they can all sort of competently handle, competently pass, but lots of length, right? Like we saw his first 2 seasons as coach, just what he can do defensively with length, right? Like some of those guys and the defense they were able to play, just pressuring the ball on the perimeter and things like that. Last season, the defense was still very, very good, but we saw sort of the inherent limitations of that. The one that everybody trots out, which, I'll trot out too, is, when Terrell was guarding Boogie Ellis on that last second shot for USC. And it was like, good hustle, stayed in front of him. But Boogie Ellis I think he's 6'5" or 6'6". Like, what are you going to do? Right. And you're 5'9", 5'10". There's only so much you can do to contest that shot. And, he just shoots over you. So last season really, I think, exposed the limitations of having a smallish, guard rotation, and how that made things difficult. It took the zone really mostly off the table for them. They tried to run it.
Well, when they ran, it was awful.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Kyle would run it for whatever reason, but it was horrendous, and I don't doubt that some of that had to do with the fact you got short guys. We saw the year before when you were running, your shortest guy out there was 6'3" Isaac Bonton. You saw what that length could do to disrupt people, even with the zone when it wasn't your bread and butter. So all that to say, I am unbelievably pleased that we have gone tall, that we have gotten taller guys. There's a non-zero chance that we have
tall
a starting lineup next year.
Too.
Yes, not just tall, but tall and talented. Yeah. There's a non-zero chance we run out a starting lineup next year that's all 6'5" and above. If Miles Rice goes in the starting lineup, then it's 6'2", 6'5", 6'6", 6'8", 6'11", 6'10". Like it's, there is a lot of length, and I love it. Guys will be. You talked about Powell's ability to shoot. At 6'6", he's not going to be bothered by a lot of contests in the way that maybe Flowers and Roberts were. Just all around, I like this philosophy of roster construction a hell of a lot better. And again, like you said, it's not tall just to be tall. These are guys who can play. And I think that he's got, a nice mix of guys who are tall, who can, distribute. I think with a lot of these guys, defense is a question mark, but I think we just trust that Kyle Smith is going to, always be able to mold his players into an excellent defense. So, yeah, I'm absolutely tickled. I'm absolutely tickled with Powell. Just like you said, that the thought of having somebody tall throwing those entry passes into the big men. We know that Powell was sort of what we call a shadow commit, right? He was waiting to see if Gay came back, and when Muhammad came back, then he went ahead and committed and signed. And I'm sure that being able to throw lobs to Gay and Adrame and throw the ball inside to Deshaun. It's there are going to be lots of targets for him as a good passer to find, and good passer with good height to find. So very exciting.
And I know Bryce has mentioned a lot, like, is that one thing this team really lacked last year was passing.
Yep.
And Powell has good vision. He's a good passer. And plus, we're working off him when he was a freshman. He's coming in. He's gonna be a third year sophomore, basically. And so he's have a ton more experience. He's played SEC minutes. He played, so it's very exciting. He'll come in and obviously he came here for the opportunity to play more. And so this only, we were hoping we needed guards. We needed guards because, even if we under the assumption that Mo could come back, we still need guards, and this just fills a void, and just it's very, very important need, and it's great that it's just it's so nice to see the staff, to have a staff that seems to have things in mind that they want, and they go and find them. Last year it was outside shooting, and so they went and got Flowers and they went and got Roberts. And that
ball
was
security.
And ball security. It was ball security.
And it definitely worked out that way.
Yeah. So it was definitely the ball security worked out. They sacrificed some things. Having two smaller guards on the floor. So now we're going to go back the other way, still see if we can take care of that basketball, but maybe find some more in terms of the pick and roll and all that. Because we have some guys that can really destroy teams, some bigs that can really destroy teams with pick and roll. Let's get a guard that can throw that oop on the back door and all that stuff. It's exciting. Powell seems like that guy. And, from all accounts, like Rice, the staff believes Rice can be that guy too.
Yes, absolutely. And they are so high on. Yeah, they are so high on Miles Rice.
If Rice is 80% of what we've heard about Rice, he's going to be a great rotation player. That even would push for a ton of minutes. So,
and let's also be honest about Powell. This is a guy looking to play one season and go pro. Like that's not. I don't think that's not doesn't seem to be some kind of secret. Like he, 3 seasons. His first 10 games at Auburn, he was starting to show up on draft boards, a potential sort of late lottery pick, and then the injury happens, and then he goes to Tennessee and doesn't play, and then now he's out here. If he plays to what he certainly believes he can play to, and what I think the coaching staff, and they're going to give him every chance to do that, right? Like Kyle Smith is, you could either say well-known or notorious, depending on your point of view, but well-known or notorious for giving his point guards a lot of latitude, his ball handlers a lot of latitude. And I think that appealed to Powell. And so he's, he might be looking for, just one season. If he has that kind of a season, then that means WSU, that's probably really good things for the team. And then, you got Miles Rice playing a year, as a contributor, and then he's ready to sort of assume the reins, in his third season. So I think it's all good, man. I'm fired up. I think what I love the most about the way the roster is put together is that you can see a potential for a really high ceiling. And I think that last year, not to sort of harp on the short guards thing too much longer, but I think that the biggest thing was that you saw there was a pretty definite ceiling of what the team could do. And, we all wanted them to make it back to the NCAA tournament, and we were excited about that possibility. But when we played teams that were, physically gifted, physically superior, taller, longer, more athletic, as we've seen a lot of times in WSU's history, we just couldn't rise to that level physically, right? Playing UCLA, playing Arizona, couldn't quite get over the hump against USC twice. And I'd argue it probably came down to that. So I think that what this does now, maybe this team isn't as good as last year, it's possible. But I certainly think that with the way that they've put it together and the talent they've amassed, the ceiling is certainly higher. And I think last year's team was sort of a high floor, but potentially kind of low ceiling type team. I don't know how low the floor is on this team, but I definitely think their ceiling is higher. And that's very appealing to me.
Well, and the big thing about going out and getting Powell and getting Gay back is that now you are able to bring in freshmen that are kind of works in progress that you don't need, because the last few years WSU has needed these freshmen to make impacts. They needed Gay. They needed Abagidi. They needed Deshaun.
We weren't sure what Gay was going to do. We were like, is he going to play that
even
much?
2 years, he played 3 years ago, they needed Noah to play big minutes. But coming in this year, there's, I expect DeYoung to play some substantial minutes, but we're not relying on him. I really doubt he's going to be a starter.
I don't. He's going to unless Deshaun's hurt. But,
unless Deshaun's hurt, but that's why you have him. We've learned having that third or fourth big is important. And speaking of a fourth big, and speaking of a guy that you can sign, and maybe he turns out to be impact, but maybe he's also someone that you can have as a reserve player, and then have big things in the future. And that's that they went out and signed another guy from Europe and Mailham on Crespin. Who knows how you pronounce that in French, dude? I don't know. But as what the 2023 champs. Beasley Bandit dubbed him on Twitter the Big Baguette.
Yeah, the Big Baguette.
Is that racist? I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. Or croissant. We could call him the big croissant.
No, I think Big Baguette is good. But yeah,
I do. You get the alliteration in there.
Yeah,
that's always really important.
But yeah. So you get another big kind of truly a European big in that you go a skilled big man. He's 6'9", 6'10", somewhere around there. He's only 17 years old. So that's, you immediately think like this guy's kind of maybe a project type player, but he's also like Andre has been paid to play basketball already, and he's got some skills. He can shoot the ball. He's got a real nice shooting base. I think his percentages aren't great yet, but he's got the mechanics there, and he really knocks down some tough shots when you look at his highlights. And also, he's not just a jump shooter. He attacks the basket. I really like he attacks the front of the rim. He seems to understand his size. You get a lot of big guys, even European big guys like Andre, that don't realize that they're big and can just go at the rim and just attack the front of the rim. And from what I've seen in his highlights, he does that, and that's good to see. And so there's just you see so many tools in this guy, and you see why he's the type of player that Kyle Smith would go after.
Yeah, he's very European. He's just got that very European basketball feel. He's not hyper athletic. He's definitely athletic enough. Yeah, but he's not.
Athletic. He's athletic enough for the Pac-12.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's not a rim running dunker like Fa or Mo or Adrame. It's like this guy's a little. He's smooth. He's smooth with the ball. He definitely strikes you as someone who maybe had a little bit of a late growth spurt. Because he developed, sort of all these other skills. Yeah. He's a really smooth passer. There are a handful of passes in the highlights that I'm like, I'm not sure I've seen any WSU big man make a pass like that in years. Yeah. I'm honestly not sure. So he has a feel for the game. He's much less raw, I guess I'll put it, than other people. Now, does that mean he's going to contribute? I think not necessarily. Watching the highlights, I know we all sort of, as we were talking on Slack, we were all like, wow, holy cow, this is whoa. And then you look at his actual stats and you're like, they're like, okay. Like you look at his shot and you're like, okay, this guy can really stroke it from three. And then you're like, oh, he actually shot 20% from three. So, I think what's probably going on there is a bit of inconsistency. I think he needs some time. My guess would be to sort of grow into, the rigors of playing at a high level. But again, you can definitely see there's some polish there on a lot of that stuff that, just a feel for the game that we haven't always gotten from our bigs, because our bigs the last few years, have been fairly raw when we've landed them. And this guy is much less raw. I think probably inconsistent, but much less raw. Really excellent feel for the game, and he's going to bring a different dimension. I'm sure he'll play this year. I'm not sure how much, but because of what he's able to do as potentially like a high post initiator, I could definitely see him playing. I don't think he'll ever play at the same time as Deshaun, because I think they take up kind of the same space. I know he can. Yes, he can go out to the 3-point line, but stylistically they're fairly similar. Sort of low to the ground, back to the basket kind of guys. But I could definitely see him, playing with Mo or Adrame and, kind of being that high post initiator and, backdoor cuts and lobs and things like that. He could be a really interesting piece that way as a bit of a change up in how they want to run their offense.
Yeah. And just, and he wasn't, wasn't totally under the radar. He had reported offers from BYU and Oregon State, St. Mary's, St. Louis. So there, I mean, some solid programs out there in that were wanting him. Definitely seems like,
and probably a lot of other programs that would want him in another year. And so that's kind of what we've done here is get him early and let him grow. And you mentioned earlier, the way Muhammad improved last year. I think that's a major selling point. Muhammad's like he grew by leaps and bounds, and he felt confident enough in the coaching staff to want to come back and continue that growth. So, that is a massive selling point, I think, for these bigs who want to come over, want to get better. I mean, look at our front court, man. Look at where they came from. I mean, Deshaun came from someplace fairly normal. I think he's San Francisco or the Bay Area.
Oh yeah,
right.
Bay Area,
or is it Southern California? Okay. Anyway,
no, I think
California.
Right,
but then you got Senegal, and then I know DeYoung was playing in Phoenix, but he's from Senegal, France, right? Like we're pulling these guys from all over the place. I mean, Powell obviously not a big man, but coming from the Southeast, like that's not a small feat getting a guy to come up here from the Southeast. So, again, just more kudos for Kyle Smith and the staff, John Andershek and Jim Shaw and Derek Phelps, the incredible job that those guys are doing. It really is astounding, man. And that we're able to sit here. I know a lot of people thought the sky was falling, and we're sitting here saying, yeah, man, NCAA tournament, let's go. Let's do it. Remarkable that they've been able to do that.
Yeah. It's the way they recruit is just, it takes a massive amount of effort.
Yep.
They are not randomly finding guys. They're not looking just, they got a backyard kid in Darling, but you're allowed to do that,
Yeah,
and
of course.
And he's definitely worth the risk, or worth the shot. He's a legacy, and he obviously can shoot and whatever. But then you go and you search and you find guys in France and everywhere, and you love it that they work so hard. And we know, we've talked to the staff. They're up late. They're looking at guys that they're traveling to tournaments in Africa and all around the world to spot talent early. They're looking at 15-year-olds. They're working at 16-year-olds. They're establishing these relationships, and like you said, they're getting in early, and sometimes convincing the kids to come earlier than they maybe were going to go to school, and choose WSU. Get your career started early. If you want to be a pro, might as well start getting that everyday training from a good staff early, and they've sold that really well. And honestly, the fact that FA comes in, all he went through, they took kind of a risk, you could say, on him. 2 years, he's got a deal with Ignite, which I'm sure he's going to be making solid money. Honestly, like Ignite pays, he'll probably be making like $100,000 a year or something. I don't know if it's been reported yet, but to play for Ignite. And a legit shot to get in the NBA in a year or two, and so that looks good, and that's why FA, we haven't talked about it, but that best case scenario was him going pro in some way if he wasn't going to come back to WSU, and so that worked out. Thank God he didn't go to Arizona. That would have just been heartbreaking. Like to have to play him twice a year.
Oh yeah, that would have made me much more despondent than Noah going to UW.
Yeah.
Like, what if FA had gone to Arizona? I would have been like, just like that would have been a really tough pill to swallow. So yeah, like you said, best case scenario, he's going pro. If he ends up in the NBA, then Washington State is attached to his name. It's all good. So again, Kyle Smith and staff can point to FA and go, hey, dude was here for 2 years, grew enough that he was signed by the NBA, invested in him. And Ignite, I think this is the thing. Our friend Bryce Hendricks points out, like when you're signed to Ignite, that means the NBA is invested in your development. And that's a really, really big deal. Like that's not a small deal. They are invested in seeing you develop and get better. And so, for FA, it certainly seemed like he was really kind of wanting to get on with his professional career, which is great. Listen, his story is such that, I do not fault him one bit for wanting to, get on with that if possible. I mean, he, obviously from Nigeria, but moved to, I can't remember where the NBA Academy in Africa was when he was there, but it was not in Nigeria. It was in another country.
Mm-hmm.
So he moved to another country in Africa as a teenager, and then moved to Australia to participate in the NBA Academy there as a teenager. Blows out his knee, rehabs all the way back. Nobody is really sniffing around. WSU takes a flyer on him, and then he comes in and really kind of blows up and, improves, a huge amount from his freshman to sophomore year. I know that the counting stats don't necessarily show it, but he definitely did, just improved in so many different ways. To then go from there to, a professional contract, which, should lead to another professional contract somewhere after that. It's really awesome. It's awesome for him. I'm thrilled for him. And, like you said, best case scenario for WSU. If he gets drafted, it's, from Washington State University, F.A. Abogidi, and everybody wins, and coaching staff can point to that. So, yeah, really good scenario. And I think that, while we'll miss him, and I'm sure we all wanted him back, I also don't look at the roster and think like, we're really screwed because we lost F.A. That's what the staff has done is, you look at it and go, well, okay, we'll be all right. We get Deshaun and another year older, and Mo should take a step up, and we're not going to necessarily maybe get the highlight reel blocks unless Dion can do that. Maybe he can. I don't know, but
I don't think anyone. There's not many people on the
nobody
Earth
does them like that.
Yes. FA that can make the plays that FA makes, but, yeah.
That do them like that. So I just I don't think we've really lost anything in the front court when you factor in the development of Mo and Deshaun and what you might get from the two freshmen. I don't think we are weaker in the front court this year than we were last year, and I think there's a very real chance we could be stronger. So,
and
it's very
overall,
exciting.
You look at Bart Torvik, his preseason projections. He's probably underselling Rice's minutes a bit, but I don't.
I think
blame
he definitely is.
Yeah, I don't. But he adjusted from this morning and gave Powell the minutes that he most likely was going to get, and Gay and all that. So, but they're up to number 53. When they started this offseason with FA and everyone coming back, they were in the 30s, of course. But obviously, now it's 53. They were down in the 80s when that roster was depleted.
Yeah.
So 53. That's about where they started last year. So that's a good sign. You lose 3 key contributors, but you don't. We've talked about it. They've lost their best player every year, and they've gotten better the next year. So they're going to test that again this year because I don't know who you want to call the best player, but it was probably either Abogidi or Flowers. So one of those two players was their best player, and they lost him. So it'll be interesting to see if they could do that again, and they've built a roster now that definitely has the potential to do that, especially if you get some jumps from Bamba, Yaki, Deshaun, and Mohammed. Just if you get a little bit of a jump from there, maybe Rice is as good as they say he is, and Jabe Mullins is a sharpshooter, and Justin Powell is that NBA guy that he thinks he is. So there's legit potential. The roster is constructed. You were talking to ceiling. The roster is constructed that where the floor is like not that low either. There's just enough talent. Like if you look at the guys, like Powell is a former top 100 guy. Gay is a former top 100 guy. Yaki is a former top 150 guy. Deshaun is a former top 150 guy. There's just like legit talent, and DeYoung, top 100 guy. Like
Mullins was a top 150 guy.
Mullins a top 150 guy. And then you have guys, that are just, Bama's just like an athletic freak and like stuff like that. It's just these type of second year in a row, we're going to be like looking at this roster and like trying to figure out what the hell the rotation is going to be. Yeah. I know we've already tried to do that.
Have you taken a stab at all at thinking about who your ideal starting five is? Who you think it might be?
Well, okay, so I go the 1 is Powell. The 2 is the 2 is the hardest one, honestly.
Yeah.
Because like ideally you would love if TJ could play the 2.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he can. Like, I don't know if he could play 35 minutes of the 2. But so you guys
just because of ball handling and passing.
Yeah,
is that kind of what you're thinking?
But I think that TJ will play the 2 some, and I think that Powell will play the 2 some, and Rice will play the 1, and it'll mix in.
Yep.
But if I go starting 5, I think I'll go probably Powell, Mullins, Bamba, Gay, Jackson would probably be a start. And honestly, the combination of Gay and Jackson really depends on how Gay's jumper has evolved.
Yeah.
Because that could be, and same for Deshaun, if he's hitting the 15-footer more consistently. Otherwise, you have 2 guys that are kind of sucked in the middle, and that could cause issues for the offense. But yeah, if those 5, and then you have like significant off the bench Rice and Yaki, and Rodman and DeYoung. So that'd be like your top 9. I'm thinking like we're probably gonna have to go 9, and then you're still, you got Crespin for foul trouble subs, which are definitely going to happen quite frequently, especially in Pac-12 play. And the one, obviously the front court depth and the depth that at the 3, 4, and 5, the depth is insane. There's just guys like you can interchange. Where it gets a little shaky is the 1 and the 2. That's you have 3 guys. Mullins, they obviously want to play at the 1 and the 2, and then Powell, they obviously want, and then Rice is a 1. You have 3 guys where you don't have as much margin for error there, and if Bamba can play some guard, that does help a little bit. But yeah, again, we're at that position where it's like they can interchange. They have a lot of players. They have a lot of players that will deserve minutes, and it'll probably be, again, we'll get to that non-conference schedule, and there'll be a lot of rotation like there was last year, and it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, so I think I agree with most of what you said as far as the starters go. I think obviously Powell is locked in, Mo is locked in, and Bamba is locked in. So I think those 3 are absolutely locked in. It's going to be interesting to see what he does, what Kyle Smith does with the other guard spot. Like I'm with you on the Bamba situation. We know that Kyle Smith likes to have 2 ball handlers on the floor at a time. And TJ Bamba, God bless him, not really a ball handler right now anyway, or wasn't last year or the year before. Now, he made huge strides last season with with the turnovers particularly. Now, a huge part of that was simply not shuffling his feet when he put the ball on the floor.
Yep.
Or stepping on the sideline. But still, he has shown the ability to grow and improve. So maybe the handle gets better, a lot better, and he can, be a competent second ball handler. But, I think what we see is that, Kyle Smith likes to have 2 guys on the floor who can really, both, sort of handle, but also maybe initiate a little bit. And in fact, at times last year, he kind of had 3, right? Noah was in that spot as the 3-man. So he likes having guys who can do that. So I think that either Rice or Mullins is also going to start. I don't know which. I know the coaching staff loves Rice. I know Bryce Hendricks loves Rice. I know that, people who watch Rice swear that he's awesome. So, I think that's a strong possibility. I also think that, Mullins being more experienced, playing 2 years at St. Mary's, I think I tend to lean that direction in terms of what will probably shake out at the beginning of the year, is him as your secondary guy. I'm not sure about that. But I think that's kind of the direction I'm leaning. And then as far as the bigs go, I do think that Kyle really liked playing 2 bigs last year, after, kind of being maybe a little thinner in terms of big men, the previous 2 years. I think he kind of loved what having those 2 bigs did for his defense. So I do think I agree with you that it's going to be Muhammad and Deshaun up front, kind of 4-5, but especially if Gay's 3-point shot has developed into something respectable. If it hasn't, I think that you could see Yaki step into that 4 spot, and then Muhammad slide down to the 5. So I'm not kind of sure how that's going to shake out, but I do feel confident that Bamba, Powell, and Gay are going to be 3 of those guys. I'm just not kind of sure how those other 2 shake out, and who knows? I mean, injuries can play a role. I mean, Deshaun hasn't had a healthy season yet, so cross our fingers that maybe just he stops being snake bitten and whatever. But I think that Bryce wrote a piece that I have not edited yet, that by the time people listen to this will probably be up on the website. But there's kind of talking about sort of the positional flexibility that you've got here. You start thinking about, okay, guys that can do different things. Powell can go 1-2. Miles Rice seems more just sort of like a locked on 1. But Powell can go 1-2, Bamba can go 2-3, Andre can go 3-4, DJ can go 3-4, Deshaun Jackson's really a locked in 5, Jabe Mullins can go 2-3, Drame can go both 4-5. If you want to go real small, Crespin can go 4-5, he could go 5. And then you just kind of do like a small ball situation, with a 6'9" big man. There's just a lot of room for flexibility and different things, and I think Kyle Smith's going to have some fun, putting combinations out there and kind of seeing what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of want to quickly touch on this kind of the early freak out over the transfer portal. But ultimately, what we said early is like guys typically transfer down, and that's kind of what we saw. The one guy that could have transferred up was FA, and he decided to go.
Decided to go pro.
Decided to go pro. Noah, sideways maybe, but to a program that's in worse shape.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
Yeah, I mean to a program.
He definitely transferred down. Come on, Craig.
Yeah, like obviously UW's not, but they're bringing in guys. It'll be interesting to see if they shoot a single 3-pointer all season, but whatever.
Yeah.
But then you got Tyrell went to USF, which obviously USF is had a better season than we did last year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, obviously that he's going to WCC. WCC
not a better
school,
program, not a better conference, new coach, you know. So.
Yeah. So, but and then Rapp went to Hawaii, and we didn't expect him to transfer up, but then WSU actually gained some massive benefit here. Obviously, actually, you could say Jabe Mullins transferred up, although St. Mary's probably definitely a better program than we are. But in terms of conference, he transferred up. Sorry, Gonzaga fans, but Powell is the perfect example of a guy that WSU can get in the portal. A guy that was highly touted out of high school, goes to some like top 10 programs, can't really get on the floor as much as he wants to, goes to WSU because he sees an opportunity there. Yep. And this is the type of guy that they can pull in the portal. And so if you're looking at the portal this year, it's been nothing but a net benefit for WSU. Like you can't, like it's they lost in the portal. FA doesn't count. They did not lose FA in the portal. He went pro, but they lost in the portal. They lost Noah. They lost Rapp, and they lost Tyrell Roberts and Jefferson Coulibaly.
And Coulibaly ends up at SMU.
Coulibaly and Rapp weren't going to play. Noah's role was going to be diminished.
And so was Terrell.
And so was Tyrell Roberts. So instead, with those scholarships so far, they've brought in Powell and Mullins. Now, Powell, I think, is an upgrade over Noah. Mullins, potentially an upgrade over Roberts. Defense, we'll see. But they've also used those scholarships to bring in Crespin and DeYoung. It's they've not been hurt by the portal this year. Now it's been tough. Like, it's been tough emotionally to follow this, but ultimately it's worked out well. And it's good to have a staff that is on the ball and can re-recruit Mohamed Gay, can bring in guys like Powell, can identify a guy like Mullins that fills a role, fills a need for you. So, I think, and plus they have one more scholarship. Who knows? I tend to think they'll probably get another high schooler with it, but if there's a guy out there that's an impact player, they have a scholarship left to grab him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate another guard who could shoot.
Exactly, a shooter for sure.
That would not make me sad. But yeah, so I'm looking at the roster. By the way, I don't know if you realize this. We have 0 seniors on the roster.
Well, DJ Rodman.
Nah, he doesn't count because with the COVID year, he's a junior.
Yeah,
he'll be a 4th-year player, but So yeah, COVID's doing funny things because of COVID. 11 of our 13 scholarships are taken up right now by freshmen and sophomores. So, but it's funny, I changed my my little scholarship tracker so that it used to go like 5 years into the future, right? But that's stupid because that will never happen ever again, except for maybe one player, right? DJ Rodman might actually be a guy who sticks around for 5 or 6 years, right? But other than that, mostly it's, guys in, guys out every couple few years. But I do think that, just sort of as a final thought, as we think about how they might use that last roster spot, like just the way that, because of the transfer portal, the way you think about constructing a roster is just kind of so different. If we think back to the Bennetts, right, you would, they'd recruit some guys who could play pretty soon, and then you recruit some guys who you knew were going to need 2 or 3 years to develop, right? Like they recruited dudes who they knew they were just going to have to invest time in, and that was okay. And that eventually it was going to pay off down the road. We'll supplement with some JUCO guys in the meantime, but, guys like, Aaron Baines, is going to be a monster by the time he's a junior, senior. I know that was the plan for, Thomas Abercrombie, right? Before he left and went, back to New Zealand. So it's just like, they kind of did that, over time. You don't really do that anymore, right? Like, maybe the closest example to that on the roster right now is a guy like Dylan Darling, right? Who, had some, small major offers, kind of blows up as a senior. WSU says, yeah, we'll offer you a spot. No expectation he's going to play right away. He's definitely going to develop. Miles Rice, Carlos Rosario, redshirted last year, so. I guess you would sort of put them in that category, but they're just, you can't do that. It's hard to plan for that anymore. Be like, we're going to stash this guy and then, really kind of work with him. So that last spot, I'm really curious. Like, do they go for a guy who contributes? Do they go for someone who's sort of high upside and, hope he sticks around for 2-3 years? I don't know. I'm really interested because, the idea of a guy sticking around for 4 or 5 years with a red shirt, that's just not, it doesn't happen. It's not happening anymore. It's just very different. So yeah, really curious.
Yeah, but overall, to wrap it up, we, exciting day. I know that you didn't want to stretch this one out too far, so I'm going to move this along.
And here we are.
Yep. let's briefly talk about. I'm not even take a break because we're not doing that long of an episode. Sorry. What are you drinking, Jeff?
I have the 8-wired Ice Stout Affogato Imperial Stout.
Jesus, I haven't heard 8-wired in a long time. I haven't heard that brewery in a long time. Where'd you even find that?
This is a product of New Zealand.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a while.
Yeah. They had it at Rainier Growlers, so I picked this up a little while ago. And I love Affogato, which is like gelato with espresso poured on top of it.
Yep.
Which is delicious. So this is brewed with lactose, coffee, and vanilla, trying to kind of get you that vanilla gelato with espresso poured on top. I like it. It's not as coffee as I would maybe have expected. They seem to definitely have been going for sort of more the ice cream type flavor, so it's definitely got some of that, some of the sweetness to it. Obviously, the vanilla is pretty dominant. The coffee is kind of right there, at the front, and then sort of dissipates. And me being a pretty hardcore coffee drinker, I was kind of looking forward to a little more coffee in it. But it's tasty. It's good. I like it.
Nice. That's wild. I haven't had an 8-wired beer in 10 years at least. That's wild. I haven't even seen them that much.
Woo.
Maybe they're having a little bit of a resurgence. I mean, they were big back then, like Hopwired and stuff. But yeah, that's cool, man. 8-wired. That was a throwback for me. It's so old, like it predated when I used to check.
I love that I surprised you.
Yeah, like
that makes me feel so good.
Predates when I used to check in my beers on Untappd, because looking on Untappd, like I know I've had many 8-wired beers, but I got Untappd in like 2013, so it was before that I had 8-wired beers. I mean, I haven't checked in beers on Untappd that much in like a couple of years, but whatever.
I know. At some point, you get to so many thousands of beers that it's not that interesting anymore.
Yeah, that's cool, man. 8-wired. Now I'm on their website. I'm checking them out. They're doing cans and shit now.
This was in a can. This was in a can.
Everyone's doing cans now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, so I'm on that last second diet for for the wedding here.
For your wedding?
And I didn't get, fucking, you got kids, didn't have time to go for a run today. So I decided to go with a little low calorie option, and I'm having a Willet Pot Still Reserve bourbon. Very, very generous pour that I gave myself.
Nice.
So yeah, I've worked about halfway through it. I'm pretty sure this was about a 3-finger, like a 6-finger pour. I would say more of a 4-finger pour. But yeah, pretty solid pour. But yeah, Willet, it's nice. It's a very good bourbon, easy to find. They're doing it. What I got is this 1.75 liter bottle in their like kind of classic. The pot still comes in with this really long neck, and but yeah, so I got a 1.75 milliliter bottle, which has disappeared much faster than I've drank it. I'll tell you that much. Even though I said, hey, don't drink all this. But yeah, so it was actually a much better deal to buy in the much bigger bottle. So that I've been drinking that. It's very tasty. I believe it is a wheated bourbon. It's pretty strong, 94 proof. You get a nice hit in the face with that. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's wheated or not. It is pretty balanced and pretty easy to drink. So that's why it kind of leads me to believe it's that. But yeah, good kick to it. Very tasty, caramel, vanilla, all that stuff that you want from bourbon. A little spicy. Just a very, especially for the price, like an excellent fucking bourbon. And you can find it like pretty easy right now. They released it a couple months ago, and I haven't saw it at Costco. So I got mine at Total Wine. So very tasty stuff. I don't drink a ton of bourbon, mostly because like alcohol is insanely expensive. Like hard alcohol is insanely expensive in Washington. I used to drink a lot more whiskey when I lived in Vermont, especially because I could go over to New Hampshire and get it for really cheap. But now I don't drink whiskey as much. But when you can get it in these large quantities, it feels a little bit better. But yeah, so yeah, it's less calories, whatever. Trying to lose a few more pounds before I have to have my shirt off.
After your 8-mile run the other day. Like...
Yeah. Well, hey, it was actually 12 and a half and combined for the day.
Oh, shit.
Because, so what Jeff was referencing, me and some of my friends did the Rainier to Ruston relay, and we signed up 2 years ago. Back then, I was a fucking baller running like 7-minute miles and shit. And so I committed to the long trail stretch. It's the longest. It's 50 miles, but this one leg is 8 of it. 52 miles, and one leg is 8 of it, and it was complete mud the whole time. Just a nightmare run. I ran it very slowly. I got really hyped at the start. My heart rate got up way too high. I couldn't get it down, so I just had to run slow. So I wouldn't, because I knew I had another 4.2 mile run to do later in the day for my second leg. So I had to take it easy. Still was super rough, and in that second leg, I was totally dead. It was like the worst I've ever felt on a run. But I did it. Whatever. We did it. I'm very proud of me and all my friends. It was a rough day. Running 2 different runs in a day is just hard. Like usually you do your run, you're done, you chill, you relax. But this, you do your run, and then a couple hours later, you got to get those legs warm and go again. Like it's tough, But yeah, we did it, and then I'm running the Sound and Arrows on Saturday, so gotta keep it going.
Beautiful.
With my 1.5 legs.
Yeah,
I was very proud.
Nice and trim for the wedding, man.
Yeah,
you're gonna be looking good. I'm gonna be like, I can't really button my coat, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, maybe you should have went with the bourbon.
I probably should have. I probably should have done a lot of things. COVID really fucked me up, man. I was running, I was losing a little weight, and then I got COVID, and that's by the way, that's part of why we haven't recorded the last couple of weeks, because I wasn't able to talk and too much and was sick and whatever, and it really fucking sucked. I went 2 years without getting that stupid shit, and then I got it. So I'm like, I'm still I do too much right now, and it's not like, it's not bad, but I get these coughing fits, and it's like terrible. Like it's just, I can't stop coughing when it starts, and I hate it. So,
well,
yeah, man.
You can always do what Amanda's brother is doing and go on a 900 calorie a day diet.
So, I suppose I could do that. But I'm not going to.
Yeah, well,
so starvation is not.
When the photographer
not in my.
Asks us to button the jackets, Jeff won't be able to do so.
I'll just be like, whatever, man. I don't button my jacket. Like, I'm too cool for buttoning my jacket. So,
but before I let you go to bed, Jeff, we got to talk about Michaela Bayrlova.
Hell yeah, we do.
The greatest tennis player in WSU history. So we
were Michaela Bayrlova hipsters a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we were watching her on the goddamn.
We were on that.
The worst feed possibly imagine.
That was terrible.
Single camera, does not move. Wind blasting the microphone.
Yeah, and no commentary at all. Just the sound of the ball, and maybe the score. You might hear the ref at some point.
The score being behind the play, and if there's kind of a play that you're not sure what happened, you just gotta roll with it. For example,
go ahead.
In the match that she lost, we thought was over, but it turned out she had won a point, and then the match kept going. Like it was so weird, but yeah,
it was. it was just hilarious. You know, it was on some website called Tennis One, and then it was like I could not. Maybe there was a way to do it. I could never figure it out. How to open up the video feed in sort of its own screen.
No, it would just expand a bit, but it was not really in its own screen. Like it was just kind of a little bit bigger.
And all of the other feeds were doing little tiny videos on the page. So like it was like annihilating my computer's resources. It was unbelievable how much time. Like just like what it was doing to my computer because I literally could not do anything else. So it was kind of funny, the janky thing, but I was glad I got to watch it. And she, it was a really fun run. And
all the way to the
last
match.
The last match, she ran into somebody who was just hot. We thought, well, maybe things are looking good. This other girl's ranked, 96, and she was really good.
She had taken down a lot of highly ranked players.
I don't even know how she finished because I didn't follow it at all after that. But yeah, Bayerlova just made his incredible run. That last match is really, way too many unforced errors. Just kind of sabotage yourself at times, and but it's a grueling run, man. They play day after day after day after day. No breaks, and it's rough.
That round of 16 match against the woman from North Carolina, Tangle, whatever you say, was just incredible. She battled back to win, and it looked like she may have been on her way to doing that again, but it just didn't go her way in that tiebreak in the second set, and so so she just dropped that, so she wasn't able to come back and try to win it in the third. She had plenty of set points in that tiebreak. Just couldn't convert.
I think she had 3 of them.
The wind for all players was just destroying the chance to, destroying the serves. Like it was knocking down any advantage on the serve. It was pretty crazy. Maybe they shouldn't play. Yep. Maybe they shouldn't play the NCAA Tennis Championships.
Maybe don't play in Illinois.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's a few. Maybe there's.
By the way,
that have better weather.
The girl that beat her lost in the next round. So,
Misa wore her out.
Yeah. Steems, she was from Texas, Peyton Steems, beat her 6-3, 6-4, and then they actually did not so that put her in the championship. And then the bracket here actually does not say who won, so never mind. I was going to say who the champion was.
What?
I don't know. They didn't put in the last winner, so whatever.
So Texas,
but it was super cool, man. Yeah, quarterfinals though, man. That is such a huge, cool accomplishment to go win, 3 matches and
no one other than awesome. Her had ever even played in the NCAA tournament for WSU, and no one other than her had ever won a match. Yep. And now she advances all the way to the quarterfinals. Yep. So Peyton Stearns won. Is that who you said it was?
I see that now. Yeah, I said Steams because that's what it looked like on the bracket. Sorry, Peyton. Mispronounced your name. Yeah, man, very cool for Bayerlova. Like that's just like, I don't know, man, super awesome, and being able to, we talk often about how sort of everything is, sort of a golden age, right? Of WSU athletics. I mean, it's, and we got people doing things in sports that in sports that haven't traditionally, been good at WSU. So. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. And I look forward to seeing Bayerlova on the women's tennis tour. I assume that's where she's heading next. So seems like she's good enough to play professionally.
Yeah, it's always interesting in tennis because obviously, like a lot of players go pro so young.
Yes.
So you never quite know like where the college athletes stand. It's the same with like men's soccer is similar in that way. But yeah, so I hope so, man. Go make some money, Michaela, and thank you for representing WSU in such an amazing way. Yeah, and I think she ended up she finished ranked 15th. I think is where she ended up. So by far the highest a WSU player has ever been ranked. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, that's all we have for today. Jeff has to go to a Jack White concert tomorrow, and he
I know. So I got editing to do here. I got to get this done quick so that I can go to bed. And
because
I'm going to be driving back from Seattle at midnight tomorrow. So it'll be worth it though.
Enjoy that concert, buddy. And
I'm going to watch Jack White shred.
I'll see you on Saturday. And but thank you for listening. If you like it, rate us 5 stars on iTunes and wherever else. iTunes is most important. But if you listen on Spotify, I think you can rate on Spotify now. You couldn't in the past, but I think you can right now. Anywhere where you can rate. You can't rate on all the podcast services, but wherever you can, give us 5 stars. And then follow us on Twitter. I'm at the Craig Powers. Jeff's at Pod versus Everyone. Follow me on TikTok at Craig W. Powers. Same for Instagram. I'm really enjoying TikTok. It's great. I basically just have my feed entirely trained to show me new pop punk, emo, and post hardcore bands. So I've trained that algorithm. But yeah, so again, thank you, Michaela Barilova. You kick ass. And with that, I say, go fucking Cougs.
Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get vaccinated.